Welcome back. Thank you, everybody, so much for sticking with me on Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jeremy Lapidus. If you are just tuning in, we've just finished breaking down the Knicks and the 76ers Game 2, looking at the future of that series, as well as taking a look at the Lakers and the Nuggets Game 2 and the future of that series. In the third segment coming up here, we're going to take a look at the yearly athletic poll that asks questions to the entire league around the NBA, get some answers to some of the most burning questions, the MVP, the GOAT debate, who is the most overrated and underrated players in the league. We'll break down all of that coming up in just a second. But before we do, remember that if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Leave a tip or donation with the link on the screen right now. If you leave a tip or donation with a message, that message will pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. We appreciate anything you do give. Once again, that link to leave a donation is gsmcpodcast.net. But like I was saying, the NBA Anonymous Players Vote came out yesterday, the 22nd. And we're going to take a look at some of the responses that they had to this poll, some of the big questions going from the MVP, most overrated, to the GOAT. So the Athletic, great sports media site, goes through and asks every single year since 2019 the NBA player poll. So there's 127 players that answer it. They've have people from all 30 teams, and it's all anonymous, so we don't know anybody that says this. So the first question that they ask is, who is the MVP? And taking a look at this poll, Nikola Jokic gets 41% of the votes. There's 141 votes cast. So, a vast majority of the league does vote in this poll, from stars to bench players to role players. All these guys, so top to the bottom of the league, gets votes. There were 5 players that received top five players receiving votes. Nikola Jokic, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic, Jason Tatum, Giannis, and Donovan Mitchell snuck into the top 5 there. Nikola Jokic is 41%, Shea is 36%, Luka is 9%. So Jokic is the player's favorite to win the MVP. He's my favorite to win the MVP again. Nothing against the rest of these guys, but as we talked about in the first segment, what Jokic has done for the Nuggets, he is the most valuable player on that court. Players agree with that, just what he has done this season. They say he's unstoppable. He's changed the game. His defense is underrated. It's very impressive what he's been able to do. Another debate that we've been having is the Depoy debate. Who's the best defender, defensive player of the year? This kind of backs up what I've been saying, what a lot of people have been saying around the media sphere, around the league. Victor Wembanyama has been voted the best defender in the league. He gets 15.2% of the votes, beating out Drew Holiday, who had 12.9, and Lou Dort, who had 9.8. Rudy Gobert, who is the favorite to win the actual Defensive Player of the Year award, is sitting there in 6th place with 6% of the votes. And Rudy Gobert is very famously not very well liked around the league, very disrespected, and that definitely has something to do with it. Putting Jaden McDaniels above him, something I probably would have put him above that. But there's some really great defenders on this list. Jalen Suggs gets a shout out. The youngster on the Magic. OG Anunoby is here at the bottom of the list. But Victor Wembanyama at the top just shows how scared some players are in the league of his defense. You've seen some clips around the league already. There was that 3-on-1 against Memphis at the end of the regular season that he just completely brought to a halt just by standing there. Is very, very impressive what Victor Wembanyama has been able to do on defense, and the players in the league are absolutely recognizing him for it. You know, lots of lots of different debates. He just the players are saying he just makes it so hard to finish on the rim. Uh, Next one is really interesting to me because the question is, if you're building a roster from scratch, who are you going to sign first? 136 players voted for this, and at the top, basically tied, is Victor Wembanyama with 27.9% and Nikola Jokic with 27.2%. Now, Victor Wembanyama is an obvious option. He just finished up his rookie season. He looks like the best defender in the entire NBA already, as the players already voted on, and his ability on offense is just going to continue to grow. Pretty much a no-brainer for me. He's my guy that I'm starting if I'm building a roster from scratch. But Nikola Jokic there at second, he's at second over younger guys like Anthony Edwards, like Luka Doncic, like Shea, who are all very young. Nikola Jokic is almost 30 at this point, and he's still going to be second in this vote. You know, you have just because of his age, it makes it interesting. It shows how much people respect him and how great of a player he is. Because even at age 30, with the chance of him retiring in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years maybe, he is still up there, neck and neck with Victor Wembanyama for the first player going off the board for a brand new franchise. It just shows how well respected that Nikola Jokic is, even though he is much older. And this brings it to maybe the more interesting kind of polls, the start of the trash talk part of it, where you get the question of who is the league's most overrated player. So with 81 votes cast, it's Rudy Gobert, getting 13% of the vote. Jordan Poole in second. And we just finished talking about Rudy Gobert, how it seems like not a lot of players in the league like him, or they just don't respect his game. And that is absolutely shown here, getting 13%, the number one most overrated player in the league from the players. But Jordan Poole in second, Trae Young in third, feels a little unfair, but Dillon Brooks is fourth there. I don't know how many people are overrating him. Anthony Davis, Domantas Sabonis, Jason Tatum at the bottom. There's plenty of people getting votes, but Rudy Gobert runs away with this one, and I don't know why everyone in the league dislikes him. There's quotes out there that says all he does is block shots. He's 7'3". He blocks shots. That's what he does, and he doesn't do anything else. So he's getting paid a lot of money. He's probably going to win Defensive Player in the league of the year, but players do not think he is deserving of these awards. And then on the flip side of this, the most underrated player, Derek White and Jalen Williams are tied for first, with Jrue Holiday and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander slightly behind him. Some interesting names on this list. Derek White kind of just exploded in his, name recognition in this last season, being a part of that Celtics team, a very valuable part of that Celtics starting five. Jalen Williams, an underrated piece of the Thunder, and Jrue Holiday there in third, what he's done for the Bucks to be a championship team, and now when he goes to the Celtics to help anchor that defense. Defensively, he's one of the best perimeter players, and what he can do offensively to boot as well definitely puts him at the top of this list. But there's a lot of good names, De'Aaron Fox, Shea, Brandon Ingram, Kobe White, Naz Reid. These guys, OG Anunoby, these guys that just don't get all the love in the world. But Derek White and Jalen Williams were voted the league's most underrated player by their peers. And then last one I wanted to talk about was the greatest player of all time. You get your normal answer. Michael Jordan, LeBron James, the top two. Michael Jordan still edges out LeBron James by 3%, but that gap keeps on closing. Jordan got 45.9% of the vote. LeBron James got 42.1% of the vote. Kobe is sitting there in third at 9.8. But someone voted for Paul Pierce. You got Steph Curry, Magic Johnson, and Paul Pierce also receiving votes. Someone decided to vote for Paul Pierce. And I don't want to talk trash on Paul Pierce. But Paul Pierce is not the GOAT. I don't know who did that. I don't know who voted for Paul Pierce. But he just is not the greatest player in the league. There there are so many great players that I would have put over Paul Pierce. Again, no disrespect to Paul Pierce. He had a great career. He's just not the GOAT. I know I said that the last one, but the real last one I want to talk about is what team other than your own do you think will win this? Will win the title? Nuggets have 55% of the vote, and the Celtics have 33%. So those are the two favorites, and people just think Jokic is that much better than the entirety of this stacked Celtics team. So, very interesting results. Go check it out. It's on The Athletic. There's a lot more polls. Which coach would you like to play for the most? What coach would you like to play for the least? Which player would you like to fight the least in the NBA? So there's some fun ones on there as well. But it's always interesting to see what the players actually have to say and what they themselves think. In our fourth segment coming up, we are going to do a little bit of a deep dive into the potential trade of a wide receiver in the NFL on draft night. A big name wide receiver and his potential to get traded to certain teams. So we'll talk about all of that and more coming up next on Sports by GSMC Podcast Network.